Pineda! Hey, congratulations. Thank you. Vamos! Vamos! Vamos!
On August 27th, 2022, KSI fought a professional boxer for the first time, Luis Alcaraz Pineda, and won. Brutally. Luis was subject to multiple jokes on social media and called out for being a complainer, actually. However, less than 6 months later, Luis redeemed himself with an excellent surprise performance during KSI's newest Misfits boxing event. This was a victory for Pineda, but I believe this whole situation represents something deeper about content creation. KSI changed this man's life. Now, before I go into that, let me first talk about the history of content creation. Now, I'm sure y'all know when content creation first started out, it was not looked at as respectable at all. Usually the things with big connections were valued the most, like, oh, you have a Netflix special, oh, you have these people supporting you and these people stamping their approval on you. That was looked at as the most valuable asset back then. However, content creators were able to utilize this unique position they were in to provide vulnerability to their audience, be human. You know, we grew up in the era of everyone trying to be so good, so perfect that no one tried to be human. Because the content creators had no one backing them, they just seemed like normal human beings. But little did these late night networks and all these other big things know, being human was their biggest advantage because it allowed them to garner something that all these big corporations failed to garner no matter how hard they tried, which was authenticity. They were human, they were themselves, they were imperfect, and because of that, they had the people's attention, the people's control. Now, people call this clout, but it's more just human connection. When people are truly connected to you in this day and age, now, it matters way more than someone's stamp of approval. Someone like KSI, who doesn't even have the respect of the music industry and these late night shows, etc., can sell out the O2 Arena because he's focused on what matters the most, which is the connection to the fans. Now, KSI didn't only just have this power. What made KSI do even better was he was able to use this power to provide opportunity. Take someone completely on the flip side, which is Luis Alcaraz Pineda, who's just a skilled boxer focused on the sport of boxing, not content creation. Luis was not trying to be a content creator. Luis was trying to do well in boxing. And at the same time, KSI was trying to gain respect to show that he could really fight real boxers. So they both benefited from this opportunity. This opportunity happened, KSI fought Luis Alcaraz Pineda and won by an easy decision. Luis looked quote unquote embarrassing out there and people started to make fun of him. However, was this really a loss? The reason I question if this was a loss or not is because of a generational difference that most people fail to understand or accept. Before, the skill, the popularity of somebody depended on how talented they were in a certain field. Now in this content creation generation, the popularity of someone is based on their authenticity or connection to their audience. Someone like Luis could try to be the best, but that wouldn't do as much for him as trying to be someone people relate and connect to. And KSI, through this, was providing him the opportunity to be an icon and brand or an image. People started to associate Luis with certain things. Even though if it was negative, they were associating him with certain things. People started to say a catchphrase he had, which was vamos, whether he lost or won, and started to pay attention to his future things. They got attached to this brand of Luis Pineda, which made him have more interest, which little did they know is the most important asset nowadays. So even though he lost, he had more attention with the audience than he had before. Now, the whole question of is a YouTube boxer a real boxer is not one I'm trying to answer right now, but one KSI answered through action. Through boxing with Luis Pineda, KSI gave Luis Pineda an opportunity to get more matches, to get more attention just by association. And through that proved the importance and the power of content creation. One thing that's really interesting about this is Luis doesn't even speak English, but somehow has such a huge American fan base now, just because he chose to be vulnerable. He didn't play this tough guy thing. He played somebody everyone can relate to, which is just a human being. And through that, he gained a big audience who sometimes clown him, sometimes exaggerate, but at the end of the day, care about him and deeply want to see him succeed or see what he does next. One side note to this that's really interesting too is someone like Swarmz, who signed to UMG, who came from these music connections, and instead of continuing that path, decided to take a complete left turn in his career and start YouTube boxing. Why? Because he saw the value value of getting those people's attention. The people who watch YouTube, the people who watch content creation can connect through authenticity and are extremely powerful, because if you have the power of the people, you're practically unstoppable. Someone like Swarmz, with all the music connections in the world, took a complete left turn and started making YouTube videos, started making vlogs, started making diss tracks on people. Why? Because he focused on the people and he wanted to get the people's attention. He took this YouTube boxing approach, even though he's never boxed before, because it was an extremely smart move. He realized, wow, a lot of people are not tapping into the market that's the most powerful, which is the people who don't care about the perfection, the people who want to connect. Once he took that turn, he gained popularity that was long lasting and real, not inflated by these label streams, not inflated by this performance or that performance, not inflated by the approval of some random gatekeeper in a random industry. He connected directly with the people, and because of that, created a long-lasting brand that will make sure he's good pretty much for his whole career. So in conclusion, even though Luis Pineda lost to KSI, KSI provided him an opportunity not only to learn from that loss and create a brand image, but also create a story that people can relate to. And especially because he just won against some guy named B. Dave, everyone was rooting for him. Look at all these tweets. Like, everyone was rooting for him. People were excited to see what he does next. People care about what he's doing, which is something he didn't have to a media level before. This shows something deeper about how content creation is the new medium and people's attention is the most valuable asset, beats money, beats connections, and beats everything else. I remember watching the results of the fight and being so happy for Luis. I don't watch boxing like that. I'm only watching boxing because I like KSI and KSI is doing boxing. Because of watching this, I have my attention on someone new, someone who's focused on the sport of boxing. And instead of this whole debate about whether YouTubers are better than real boxers, etc., KSI did the most mature thing, which was to align them together and show that they can work together to make sure everyone's fed, everyone has opportunities for them and their family, and everyone has a better career ahead of them.